Coming up on Texas Parks and Wildlife.
That to enjoy the outdoors, you have to have places to go and things to do.
These are the worst thing that we have in all of Texas.
Conservation, heritage, history. This park lives and breathes that every day.
Texas Parks and Wildlife, a television series for all outdoors.
I've lived here my entire life, and it's a great city, great town. Well, when you grew up, it was a small enough town, you knew everybody in town. You go to the picture show or go to a restaurant, you knew everybody in it, you know, no question about it. In my case, fishing became important. When I was a little kid, I had some adults that took me fishing. Right here on this lake, and I remember the very first bass I ever caught on. Yeah. Woody Brookshire says, I want us to build a sporting goods store in Tyler, and I want you to run it. And I said, I think it's a great idea, but I want to own part of it. And he says, well, I hoped you'd say that too.
John Bass for the Sportster. Brother, this week it's the Sportster Spring Sports Spectacular, our biggest sale of all time. Check Monday's newspaper in your area for the Sportster Spectacular Sale Tabloid. And don't miss the greatest sale and show in town all week long.
Through the Sportster initially, Alan provided the gear that made people better fishing. When they became better fishermen, they became more active fishermen.
The store was a destination.
If he didn't have it, you didn't need it. He just had so much knowledge as a fisherman that he could really help people.
Always looking for new ways to promote and to sell fishing.
Oh, look at the size of that bass.
Oh, man, look at this. That, sir, is Mr. Alan Haynes right there.
Having fun. Woo! Son, what a fish. I was in the sporting goods business, and I determined early in the game that I ought to do everything I could do to help fishing in Texas.
Alan brought some of the things and tools that he learned as a business owner into public advocacy for anglers, and specifically to the Texas Parks and Wildlife, and involvement with us in trying to make fishing better.
He understands the conservation part, bringing more people into the sport.
And when the opportunity came along to support the Fishing and Wildlife Conservation Act, Alan was totally on board.
That kind of, to me, lit the fire under him. And he was very active going to Austin and pushing that issue.
Alan was an integral part of establishing the East Texas Woods and Waters Foundation. That organization did so many great things to improve fishing, like the Mineola Preserve. It was a huge piece of property that he really wanted to set aside for the use and enjoyment of current and future generations of outdoorsmen.
Seems to me that to enjoy the outdoors, you have to have places to go and things to do.
It was important, and it's important, you know, facilities like this nature center. They have the youth fish days, which are huge.
The reason I helped start the Kid Fish program, people that were nice to me when I was a kid, I felt like there was payback time.
Alan was also an important leader in a planning committee to start the Texas Freshwater Fisheries Center in Athens, which is the Inland Fisheries Division major outreach center.
When he starts something, he puts everything he's got into it.
He won't quit. He has selective hearing, and he can't hear the word no.
As great as it is in Texas, Alan wants to make it better.
Alan is an advocate for fishing and all the outdoors because he loves it.
You know, it just makes you feel good that you've lived this long and somebody appreciates what you did.
We're at Lochridge Ranch in Anderson County. I'm Ed Cox Jr. I have a passion for East Texas. I grew up hunting and fishing and doing all kinds of things in the outdoors, and I just had a passion for it, and still do.
Lochridge covers more than 15,000 acres in the post oak savanna of East Texas.
It's something that I just grew to love and put it above basically everything except my family.
Ed lives on the ranch with his wife Kathy and their children.
I couldn't think of anywhere else better to live than here.
Ed's daughter Dot helps run the cattle.
Come on, hey, come on.
But Lochridge isn't your typical cattle ranch.
There they go.
While they do graze cows, much of the property has a different purpose. These hardwood bottomlands were at one time cattle pasture.
This was all coastal Bermuda at one time. We left some place for the cattle, and then we went in and planted thousands of hardwoods. We planted probably 100 acres of them.
Yeah, this burn came out perfect. Really classic return to post oak savanna. What we're looking at here is the remnants of that ecosystem that once existed over 50 million acres of North America. It's an endangered habitat now. This is a good browse species right here. It's these asters and forbs and poison ivy.
I didn't know they ate that.
Oh yeah, anything that grows on a vine, just about a deer will eat. What's so encouraging about Lochridge is this is one of the few places where we're growing it back.
You can sure tell the difference with a burn. It just does wonders.
When burning isn't an option, they bring in the mulcher.
This is our instant gratification tool. This gets us where we want to be today. To try and burn this enough to remove this size of fuel is really tricky. So we're trying to get rid of the yopon, the cedars. Things are using up a lot of nutrients and water that we really don't need. In the future, we can just run a fire through here on a maintenance basis and keep this in a more natural state.
I'm a fish guy. We have to take about 10 to 12 pounds the acre out every year. This lake, for instance, we'll have to take 1,000 pounds out of here this year.
They remove the fish using an electro-fishing boat. The electricity from the cables temporarily stuns the fish and allows them to be captured and transported to other lakes.
We basically take the little fish out and put the big fish back. It keeps your lake from getting overpopulated. One right there. Look at here. What we got here.
The Cox family and their staff work hard throughout the year, maintaining the marshes, planting pea fields for wildlife, and keeping track of everything.
We are getting our wildlife census, getting a count on how many bucks and does we have, how many deer per acre.
A surprising result of the work on the ranch is the rise of a healthy gator population.
When this water's out like this, where the creeks are high, you get the gators spreading all over the whole bottom, really. Looking for fish, looking for something to eat.
And they're doing all they can to keep the hog problem in check.
These are the worst thing that we have in all of Texas. They overpopulate and they'll just destroy your habitat. It's hard to catch them. They get smart. This puts us up to 400 in the last month. Between 500 and 600 a year keeps us about even. It's not just our problem. It's a problem all over the state.
Lochridge is also taking part in the wild turkey restoration efforts in East Texas.
We're starting to see a little bit of success. We're hopeful. feel like in East Texas.
We're trying to preserve something that there's not much of anymore and make it better. Generations change and people's ideals change and you know, trying to keep this together, and my kids will too, and my granddaughter. So that's a great thing. Makes me feel good.
A very significant part of our happiness in life revolves around what I call the Magic Kingdom. We're in the Magic Kingdom. You may think of Disneyland, but I want my children to grow up and have an experience in this Magic Kingdom, which was present here before we got here.
Rarely are we met with a challenge to the value and the meaning of our beloved nation. The issue of equal rights for American Negroes is such an issue.
President Lyndon Baines Johnson is perhaps best remembered for passing legislation to uphold civil rights, improve education, and help the poor. He was a man of the people, and his legacy is celebrated here at LBJ State and National Parks.
I think one of the things that President Johnson wanted the public to see here was how life was like when he grew up and what made him do many of the legislative acts that he did.
The Visitors Center chronicles his life from boyhood to high school. That's him circled on the right. Through his and Lady Bird's time in the White House, and finally his retirement here in Stonewall. A self-guided tour takes park visitors to the actual places that highlighted LBJ's life, his childhood home, his first school, and what he calls his Western White House, the place where President and Mrs. Johnson spent their final years.
The park is so unique. It has so many things about it. It's a historical park because it's a presidential park, but along with that, it comes with some really neat things that touch base with nature, the nature trail and the deer and the buffalo. And in the spring, the fields are beautiful with wildflowers. If you like to go swimming, we have a swimming pool. We have tennis courts, even a baseball field. No matter what your interest is, you can really enjoy the park and have a whole day of activities. And then there's a unique place called the Sauer Beckman Living History Farm.
This is a true working farm. It was all very basic. No running water, no electricity. It depicts life as a working farm in 1915.
It was one of the ideas of LBJ to actually have this happen, the concept of people realizing what life was like without electricity and running water. And he said, people aren't going to know that if we don't somehow preserve that.
Welcome to our parlor. Come on in. The tears that come in people's eyes when they come and visit.
So where was Granny living at? In Oklahoma.
Pointing with pride to a young grandchild, this is the way we did it. Or this is just like Mama did it.
Conservation, heritage, history, this park lives and breathes that every day.
Here at the Aransas National Wildlife Refuge in the shallow bays of the Texas coast, you can find one of the rarest birds in North America. The endangered whooping crane.
This is a species that almost went extinct. I mean, it was almost gone forever from the face of the earth. Depending on what estimates, we can count on 14 to 16 individuals were alive in 1941. And that almost disappeared. I mean, we still have a very small population, 300. A species that was almost gone is slowly coming back. Yeah, there seems to be a gap.
Meet biologist Felipe Chavez Ramirez. Veterinarian Barry Hardup.
Just something we made out of necessity, I guess.
And biologist Dave Brandt.
They were here.
They hope to do something that's never been done before.
See how he's got one foot in, don't he?
To trap adult whooping cranes. The plan is to put transmitters on the cranes and track them with satellite GPS technology. The team is working with Wade Harrell from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
We're going to learn a lot in terms of new places that they use that we didn't know about before. So I think there'll be a real paradigm shift in how we manage and conserve whooping cranes going forward.
It's like they may not have come until later in the morning.
The first step is to get the birds to come close to the trap.
Looks like they're approaching, and there they say, hey, there's a good pile of corn here. Let's have breakfast. We've been baiting these birds for 3 weeks now or more, getting them to the spot. Right in the middle, so they have to reach. And the whole key to this is the fact that they're not quite comfortable.
The trap that we're using right now is basically a leg snare.
I put wet sand along the sides.
It basically consists of a loop made of monofilament that we put in a hole that we've previously made on the ground.
Then we start baiting that depression, and hopefully they get into it and start behaving the way we need them to behave for actual capture.
All right, see you in a few.
While Felipe climbs into this blind,
so there's a lot of birds in the area all of a sudden.
Barry and the rest of the team stage in a nearby truck.
So now it's a waiting game.
The hope is this study will help answer some questions.
Something about, how they're growing up. Are they growing up with a lot of problems, and that's why there are so few of the cranes? Or is there something that, we can do beyond, working to conserve their winter and summering habitat? Are there some additional steps that we can take?
On this evening, the whoopers didn't fall for the trap.
Give it another 10 or 15, I guess, and then call it a day.
We'll call it. They never went for the corn.
Trapping may have hit a snag.
There's a family pair out there. You see them?
Yep.
But some science on surroundings is underway.
What we're doing right now is doing a habitat assessment of the area. We're going in to look at the different vegetation types to see what kind of areas the whooping cranes like to stay in.
All right, stakes in.
How many segments have any vegetation covering them?
4.
Okay.
This is just an easy way to get a general idea of the thickness of the vegetation and the height of the vegetation.
Even though they are an endangered species and they've been worked on for a long time, there's not a lot known about what they'd prefer to do on their day-to-day activities. So this kind of helps us get a little better data on where they're actually spending their time. 5.
Okay, got it.
And one thing the habitat study shows, the crane's health goes hand in hand with the health of this salt marsh.
Salt marshes are extremely productive ecosystems. So there's just an enormous amount of crustaceans, crabs, shrimp, small fish. So there's a tremendous food resource that they rely on here.
Right out there is our marsh. If you look, they're feeding on blue crabs.
Bordering the salt marsh of the refuge is the Johnson Ranch. Diane Johnson and her family have put the land into a conservation easement. The easement ensures that this land will never be developed.
We have a conservation easement because we want to preserve the habitat for the whooping cranes and for all the other animals and keep this bit of land natural. It will never change. Our land is on St. Charles Bay, which is 240 acres of wetlands for the whooping crane.
This prime coastal habitat will always be protected.
We're surrounded by nature, and I think it's our duty to keep that going. I mean, to keep that wild. I think it's important. Importante.
Across the bay at the refuge, it's early morning, and Dave is in the blind.
Okay, boys, get ready.
Got a bird, got a bird.
Got a bird, got a bird, got a bird.
See the flagging on your right. That's right here. Yeah, I think you have the dominant male in your hand. All right, good.
Okay, PTT ID 134349. We attach these with two types of adhesion. First one is glue, secondary will be pop rivets, so it's pretty much a permanent transmitter. My feelings is I think that this project has long been needed. There's been, very little information, scientifically concrete information that's been gathered on these birds. This is enabling us to really concretely say, or specifically say, yes, here's where these birds are stopping, here's how long they're spending here. So it's some groundbreaking stuff.
Taking a look here to see what kind of condition his feathers are in, his flight feathers. These are his outer primaries.
What we're doing with capturing adult birds on the Aransas Refuge has never been done before.
7.24.
So we're learning a lot about these birds in terms of their movements, their survival, their overall health, what we can do to further their protection and conservation into the future. Okay, we're good.
You can go now. Oh yeah, he's good.
We've got a pair of whooping cranes here. One adult here in the pair is green over black color band, and blue radio band. I think they're doing well.
In all, the team banded 37 adult whooping cranes.
2011-07. This project gives us very fine-scale, detailed habitat information. So we can actually go and look at locations where the birds have been, find out what type of vegetation is there, what type of food sources are there. So we really begin to better understand what the birds need day in and day out, from their nesting area in Canada all the way down here to Texas.
This is the last stronghold of the wild whooping crane flock. So it's very important from that perspective. This is the core. I'd really feel a connection to it, and I would like to do as much as I can to help the species. And I think this is one good way to get there.